6 p.m. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. Kashmir Day is being observed today across the country to express solidarity with the oppressed people of occupied Kashmir. The Prime Minister says India has deployed 900,000 troops in occupied Kashmir to terrorize the Kashmiris. In India, several student groups held protest demonstrations in Delhi and Aligarh Muslim universities against the continued siege of occupied Kashmir. The Financial Action Task Force has decided to maintain the status quo for Pakistan on the Financial Action Task Force Action Plan. In Afghanistan, 18 people were killed in two blasts inside a mosque in Nangarhar province today. The Pakistan Cricket Board has appointed Azhar Ali as the captain for Test and Babar Azam as T20 captain. And now the news in detail. Kashmir Day is being observed today to express solidarity with the oppressed Kashmiri people. To mark the day, sirens blared all across the country at 3 p.m. People stood in solidarity with the ringing of sirens, and then a 5-minute silence was observed. The activity ended with the playing of the national anthem. Prime Minister Imran Khan says occupation government of Modi continues the surge of occupied Jammu and Kashmir for 75 days. In a tweet today, he said Modi thought he could get his agenda of annexation by using 900,000 forces to silence the Kashmiris. The Prime Minister reminded India that it does not need 900,000 troops to fight terrorism, but need them to terrorize 8 million Kashmiri people. He said, as the world watches the worst violation of human rights in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Modi is now fearful because he knows the moment the siege is lifted, there will be a bloodbath, which would be the only way to subdue the Kashmiri people. Imran Khan also wore a black armband, I'm Kashmir, to express solidarity with the Kashmiri brethren of occupied Kashmir. A delegation of eminent ulama and mashayikh called on the Prime Minister Imran Khan in Islamabad today. The Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the Defense Minister Parvez Khattak, the Minister for Federal Education and Training Shafqat Mahmood, Minister for Religious Affairs and Interfaith Harmony Dr. Nurul Haq Qadri, Prime Minister's Special Assistants Naeemul Haq, Dr. Firdaus Ashiq Awan and Yusuf Beg Mirza were also present on the occasion. The Foreign Office spokesperson, Dr. Mohammad Faisal, says the Modi government has led India into blind alley. Talking to Pakistan television today, he said even the international media has to say that 8 million people are detained in their homes in the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In occupied Kashmir, normal life continues to remain affected for the 75th straight day today in the Kashmir Valley and the Muslim-majority areas of Jammu region due to the Indian military lockdown and suspension of internet and prepaid cellular services. Shops and business establishments continue to remain closed except for a few hours in the morning and evening, whereas public transport is absent from the roads, adding to the people's woes. Several student groups held a protest demonstration at the Delhi University against the continued siege of occupied Kashmir. They raised slogans demanding restoration of Kashmir's special status and calling for Azadi. The protesters denounced the communications blockade imposed by the Indian government in the occupied territory and demanded the release of political prisoners. Meanwhile, Kashmiri students staged a protest at the Aligarh Muslim University to express concern over the situation in the Kashmir Valley. The Financial Action Task Force has decided to maintain the status quo for Pakistan on FATF action plan and allow the usual 12 months observation period for the Asia Pacific Group Mutual Evaluation Report. The The decision came at the conclusion of the week-long Financial Action Task Force plenary meeting in Paris today, wherein Pakistan's progress report on the FATF Action Plan and Pakistan's Asia-Pacific Group Mutual Evaluation Report were considered. Pakistan delegation led by the Minister for Economic Affairs Division, Hamad Azhar, reaffirmed the government's commitment to fully implement the action plan. The delegation also held sideline meetings with various delegations and briefed them about the progress made by Pakistan on the Financial Action Task Force Action Plan and steps taken for strengthening its anti-money laundering, countering financing of terrorism framework. The International Monetary Fund has appreciated the progress made towards stabilization of Pakistan's economy and the government's commitment to the reforms process. The appreciation came when the advisor to the Prime Minister on Finance and Revenue, Dr. Abdul Hafiz Sheikh, and members of the Pakistan delegation met the Director, Middle East and Central Asia Department, International Monetary Fund, Jihad Azur. On the occasion, they discussed the ongoing implementation of the IMF program. This is Radio Pakistan. The Italian Secretary General of Defense, Lieutenant General Niccolo Falciperna, called on the Naval Chief Admiral Zafar Mahmood Abbasi at the Naval Headquarters in Islamabad today and discussed defense cooperation and matters of mutual interest. General Niccolo Falciperna hailed Pakistan Navy's efforts for regional peace and stability. The Vice Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Asim Zahir, has reiterated the resolve to further enhance the existing security and defense cooperation with Italy. The commitment was made during his meeting with the Italian Secretary General of Defense and National Armaments Director, Lieutenant General Niccolo Falciperna, who called on him in Islamabad today. Both the officials discussed various matters of professional interest and mutual cooperation. The Italian Secretary General of Defense lauded the professionalism of the Pakistan Air Force and its personnel. The British royal couple, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, Prince William and Princess Kate Middleton, departed from Islamabad for England after completing a 5-day visit to Pakistan this afternoon. They were seen off by the British High Commissioner Thomas Drew and other officials. In Afghanistan, at least 18 people were killed and nearly 50 others wounded in 2 blasts inside a mosque in Nangarhar province during Friday prayers today. Officials say the incident took place at approximately 2 p.m. local time in the Jawdara area of Haska Mena district. The death count could rise. Most of the wounded have been shifted to hospitals for medical treatment. No group has immediately claimed responsibility for the blasts. Meanwhile, 17 Taliban militants were killed in an operation by the government forces in Kunduz province. The Afghan Army Special Operations Corps said in a statement that the operation was launched by the Afghan National Army Commandos in Archin district. According to the United Nations estimates, nearly 1,700 people have fled the fighting in northeastern Syria and crossed into Iraq in the recent days. UNHCR spokesman Andrei Mahejik told reporters in Geneva today that for the 4th consecutive day, UNHCR has been receiving hundreds of refugees, including women and children, crossing the border into Iraq from northeast Syria. New Zealand has introduced armed patrols today in response to the Christchurch Mosque's massacre in March, in which 51 Muslim worshippers were killed. Under the new system, armed units will patrol in 3 areas, starting on the 28th of this month on a 6-month trial. The Pakistan Cricket Board has appointed Azhar Ali as the captain of the national cricket team for international test matches in the 2019-2020 season, while Babar Azam has been named the captain of T20 International until next year's ICC T20 World Cup to be played in Australia next year. According to the Pakistan Cricket Board's press release, the appointments were confirmed after Sarfaraz Ahmed was left out of both the formats due to a drop in his overall form during the past few series. And finally, the weather. Rain, wind, thunderstorm is expected at scattered places in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Upper Punjab, Islamabad, Gilgit-Baltistan, and Kashmir during the next 24 hours. Hailstorm is expected at a few places, while snowfall over the high mountains is also expected in Malakand Division and Gilgit-Baltistan. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website, radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch live video streaming of our bulletins on the link, facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.